Today we're using Exposition. Welcome back to Writer's Theory. I'm James Winterthorne, and today is the 59th day of my writing journey to write a novel in less than 90 days. I'm making great progress so far. I am filling in the timeline of my story since I'm jumping all over the place in terms of the linear progression of the story is broken up. And so I'm filling in the gaps now to complete the timeline of the story. So right in the middle of that effort, today I'm picking up where I left off yesterday with Alvarez and Mercer now together and moving toward Colorado. This part of the story, I do want to have some show, don't tell. I really want to drive some of this with narrative and dialogue, but I don't need to show hundreds and hundreds of miles of them riding through the Kansas plain. So I'm going to break it up a little bit. I'm going to advance the plot with some exposition. Basically, I'm going to explain some of what happens in the story rather than show it. This is generally a not ideal way to tell a story. You wouldn't do this with an entire story, but here and there, it is a useful tool. We want to get a lot of information across quickly, and we don't want to bore our readers by repeating similar action sequences. So that's going to be my effort today. Day 59. Let's get to the first part of it. And so here they are they're still planning out exactly what they want to do. And in previous videos, I had mentioned that this serves two purposes. First, it helps just lay out what the plot is, like what's really happening, what's the intent with the story in general. So the reader knows what the plan is. And also, in a lot of these situations, I don't know what the plan is as I'm writing, and I need them to have this conversation so I can more clearly understand where I want to go with the story. So it serves both purposes. It informs both the reader and me as the writer. So I have them planning a lot. So I prefaced the video saying that I'm going to be using some exposition. And you can see in the paragraph where it says the town of Manhattan, that paragraph is basically an exposition paragraph. It is just I'm explaining what they saw, what they did, without getting into the details of that experience. Because I don't know that it adds value to have yet another inn in another small plains town that nothing really happens in. So I think in those situations, it's okay to explain what happened and get to the next scene in which there is dialogue and there is description of what's going on with the characters. And again, they gathered provisions in Abilene. This is also another explanation of their experience. So this is what I was talking about with what my effort today was going to be, was mixing this dialogue with explanation over the course of this journey. And what this allows me to do is advance the story and allow many days to pass versus following them day after day and managing day parts and where they slept, things like that. It helps me move forward. So this already long segment of the story isn't unnecessarily long. I hope I'm doing a good job of this. I tend to stay away from exposition and rail against it in a lot of cases, but it certainly plays its part in narrative storytelling. And so I'm trying to find a good balance here. So let's see how well I did that, and let's get on to the second part of day 59. And so here, once they get to Saline County, I really want to incorporate in the first part of the story and how we got there. And that means at what point were they separated? Was she able to hide the package? And this is more of a convenience for me, but I'm working it into the story, so at least it's part of it. Would two people really do this? I don't know, but I do need it to be a part of the story, so that's why they're having this discussion, and why they are splitting up here, so I can have the story be consistent from way at the beginning, and it's fine. I think it does what I needed to, and it saves me from a significant rewrite in the beginning. And here they're off in their separate ways. And he goes on to Hayes. And then I just put a little break in there to differentiate the timeline. And really, like, I don't need to describe his riding alone from Hayes to Colorado Springs, in this case, Canyon City. In the event that if there's not going to be anything adding value to the story, there's no sense in me describing things and taking the reader through that. I think we understand how long 2 weeks riding a horse is across the plains of Kansas and Colorado. So if it doesn't add value, I'm not going to include it in the story. I will explain it and then move on to the next thing that is important. So that was what day 59 looked like. I really needed to just get from one point to another point and do it in an efficient manner. It also tied back in the earlier parts of the story. So I'm happy with what I did there. So let's do today's line of the day now. Is that right? I figured we would ride into town, sneak into his bedroom at night, and see if the world truly missed Silas Shaw in the morning. This line comes back to that planning between these two characters, between Alvarez and Mercer, and them discussing the best way to approach their shared need for justice for this character. And I like that they're having the discussion of, do they just go in and take care of it, or do they is the plan to ruin him and have him live in ruin? So I like this line because it tells a lot about what one character's thinking, even if that's not the ultimate plan. So I picked it for today's line of the day. Tomorrow, I am following Mercer again, like where he's going to go into Canyon City. And now we are, we're going to have him have that interaction, have him go into town and see how that goes. This stretch has been a long one, and I'm thinking that it should probably be 2 chapters instead of 1. But as far as I'm writing it in the moment, it's just going to be whatever it is. In this case, it's just a long stretch of the story. But he goes into Canyon City tomorrow, and we're going to find out what happens to him then. If you want to see what happens to Cole Mercer, please like and subscribe and click the bell. You'll be notified so you can find out what happens tomorrow. Section of the story where I just don't know what I'm saying.